I'm sorry that I cannot walk you through that. Uh, Already having a Facebook developers account. So what you're going to see is developersfacebook.com. You'll need to log in the upper right-hand corner if you are not already. Assuming then that you have an active developers account, you'll be able to click on My Apps and click on Add a New App. Now here's a trick. The reason I'm showing you this is new. When I first started doing this, this wasn't a choice. Your only choice was website. So when you do this, you may think that you want iOS or Android. You do not. What you want to do is create a website Facebook app. What I'm using currently is the Graph API for the website Facebook app. What the Graph API looks like for these guys, I do not know. I can't talk to it. So click on website. If you already have a Facebook app, it will list it. If you do not, this will be blank. And we could simply say Corona Geek app. And space in there. Or thank you. Corona Geek test app. There's no extra spaces. There is. Thank you. Create a new Facebook app ID. Okay, create Corona Geek test app. Is this a test version of another app? No. Choose a category. I'm not going to walk through all of this. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you my filled out one. But let's just say games. Oh, subcategory. Puzzle. Etc. etc. Okay, see, this is where we get into all the fun stuff. So your account must be verified before you take this action. Oh, I'm one of those rare people who doesn't have a mobile phone. So I have no way to do this next step. Thankfully, I already have a test application. So when you get into this, eventually you're going to be able to go into the My Apps panel. You'll be able to click on it, and it's going to bring up this really fancy-looking dashboard, which has changed over time. You're going to want to go into Settings, and you're going to need to fill out, if you have not already filled these in, the application name, which you did fill in when you created it. You're going to need a valid contact email. You're going to need a valid site URL. I don't think that this is required when you create the application.
I don't think the website, you should have clicked website, because if you click iOS, you get this iOS field, and then you press add platform, and you can add Android field, and you don't need website. You can click the cross at the top right corner, and you don't need website.
Yeah, you don't need it.
Uh-oh, somebody. Okay, I'm old school. Like I said, when I first did this, all that was available was the web one. Go on. Jason open his mouth.
When you create an iOS one, I think they're going to want like an Apple ID for it. So if you're in the early stages of development and you haven't yet created an app ID, I think the website might be a good way to go, because it's going to ask you for all that stuff when you set up an iOS app.
I'm going to say that if you want to create a test account that you can use over and over like I do, this is the way to go. But if you're creating one specifically for your app, then it sounds like you could choose iOS, and then if you need it for Android, add that as an additional target, which makes sense to me. Why would you need two? And fill in the rest of the details. Some of this is going to be black magic, but at the end of the day, you're going to get an app ID and a secret. You don't need the secret. I'm not showing my secret. But you're also going to have the possibility of... that's nice. All right. If you do a demo, you get things you don't expect to see. So it's complaining about my OAuth. But you're going to have some other settings in here. And I think at this point, you know what we should do? Is we should stop, and I would propose that people who are trying to follow along go and do this. Create your app. Use my application that I am providing to you, put your app ID in, and test it. And then if you have issues, questions, where do you think the best place would be to post? I think the best place to post would be the thread where we're maintaining questions, because I don't want to leap forward and say these are the 5 settings you need. Um, somebody's going to say something.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, right? Because I'm pretty sure if you publish your application and you go live, you need to add your Android and your iOS, um, code, rather than having it set up in the way you did with just a website URL. Because you need to tell Facebook, or Facebook needs to know that your application is your application. So you need to enter the key hashes, otherwise it won't work. It will work on your account because you're the developer, but if you publish it, it won't work. It will not post to Facebook.
So what you're saying is I may have given incorrect information that we do need to provide the secret.
Well,
No, not incorrect, incomplete, because when you add Android platform, you fill in your package name, your Google package name, your class name for Android activity, and key hashes that are from the key store.
Oh, absolutely. You're right. I know what you're talking about, and I did not do that for the demo here. There's a blog post that outlines those steps, and I'll locate it and provide a link to it if I have not already in here. But you guys are talking about the additional signing steps that you need to publish your app.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fortunately, there's a blog post in the Corona forums that covers this. So, which would be way beyond, I think, the scope of talking about in this Hangout. Other than to say that when you do go to publish, you're right. You do need.
Let me show really quick how my looks like. Where is it? Right here. Wait a second. So, can you see my screen?
Yes.
I have, this is my Leatherflow game, so this you can use this as an example for filling up this form. So for iOS I have bundle ID, store IDs, and single sign-on, deep linking, that's all you need. On Android you need your package name, class name. Class name is your package name plus .activity, and this is how key hashes looks like. I have a few key stores, so you can use only one, but I have two just because I needed to, and because I have two different binaries. And you just type them here, and it works. So that's all how it looks.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
So when we talk about features, the web app may actually get you an ID, which could get you some access to social graph and that sort of thing.
Well, you get the ID without the website anyway.
Yeah, but right, exactly. But there's deep linking here, single sign-on. There's these additional features that are platform specific. So interesting.
Yeah. So I think if we haven't already enumerated or explained this, it's complicated. But it's not so complicated that you cannot do it.
By the way, you don't really need to change anything on the advanced tab, on the settings of the application. It works just fine.
Yeah, so just the basic settings.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Yeah. Well, this is a very complicated topic. Here's some resources and some examples of how to implement those things. So we can either do one of two things. We can come back and do a follow-up if you want to do that, or we can leave it there as an exercise for the reader. I mean,
can I suggest that we leave it there for a few shows and get some feedback from people on stuff that was unclear?
Yeah.
Like, I tried this and your example sucks, or whatever. Hopefully they don't say that. But
do we want to start a thread in the forum and maybe say, hey, here was the show, here, go watch it, and then if you have questions.
I think that's the best choice. It'll be a clean starting point for people to give feedback, and then that way it can be a cooperative thing where people can give answers and we can try to.
It can be a call-in segment. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
That's right.
All right, and I've gone way over 25 minutes. I do apologize, Stephen. Stephen was completely ready to go, very prepared, and then completely blocked by Facebook. Not me, Facebook. You're blocked by Facebook.
Stephen, do you think we can do do shaders next week?
Yeah.
So just so everybody can get super excited, tell us kind of what we were going to talk about today. Like give us the sound.
Last week I briefly showed how after some time has gone on, a shader starts to break down, just because the numbers are getting pretty big and certain issues show up. So I was going to explain some of the details behind that. And then there was something somewhat related where I just wanted to show some math and how to use it to make an effect.
Okay, and so we'll talk about those types. So it's really it has to do with math and the math of shaders.
Using math to make pretty pictures. One is the pitfalls of math, and I have a small multi-pass example I can probably sneak into.
Using math.
Exciting.
Using math to create pretty pictures. That's my version.
Yes.
I can grok that.
Well, I heard two things I definitely want to hear, which is approaching the problem of overflowing numbers that are causing issues with your, and then you say multitasking,
Multi-pass.
Multi-pass. That sounded.
It's a shader that runs, and then it feeds its input to another shader, runs that.
Ooh. Now that.
I saw. Is this piggybacking on the 2D shadows discussion that was in the forum?
Yeah, I have an example.
Excellent.
All right. Well, I totally blocked a very exciting discussion.
No, Brian. Brian asked in the chat here, is that grok or grok? It's with a C or a K, and
With a K.
It's Crocs. You remember the old foamy shoes? It's Croc. I croc everything.
Not croc. That's a croc. Grok is from
crazy book.
Robert Heinlein, Strange Land.
Yep, exactly.
Crazy.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, guys. I appreciate you spending the time to cover these topics because they are intense. There is a lot to them. It does change all the time, and the very fact that you guys come out and not only try to understand this stuff yourself, but to communicate it to somebody else is a big win, I think, for everyone. So thanks for doing that. And it's a lot of time and effort and energy spent. It's a whole lot easier to learn something in private and keep it to yourself than it is to try to explain it to other people. So thanks for spending the time. So and Dr. Burton is shaking his head. Yes.
We all agree.
Yeah, standing up in front of a room full of students every semester, telling them, that what you're saying is important. You should listen to me. There's
nothing more humbling.
especially when somebody in the audience says, "No, that's changed. You got it all
That's wrong.
Yeah, I bet you get that all the time at the university, right? People stand
Only
up.
if they want to fail.
You're right. Yeah. They haven't taken their politics class yet, right?
That's right.
No, I'm glad to be wrong as long as somebody is willing to tell me where I'm wrong and what I can do.
Well, I'm with you. Ed. For the longest time, it was just you just have the web, and then you had just the Facebook canvas kind of stuff, and it really wasn't clear as to which was which, and now a whole lot of things have changed. So it's a brand new world. So it's all good stuff. Well, guys, we'll be back here next Monday to talk all about mobile app development using Corona SDK. Until then, have a great week.